Joining me now, Perry's fellow governor and successor as chairman of the Republican Governors Association, Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. Governor, nice to see you. Let me start with Governor Perry. And I know yesterday you said you thought he could have said things differently. You believe Governor Perry should have apologized for the incendiary remark?
Well, Governor Perry is both a tough guy but also a very compassionate guy, and I thought the remarks probably were something that could have been said differently. I would have said things differently. I think what he was trying to express was his frustration with both monetary and fiscal policies out of Washington and really no credible plan from the president to reduce the debts or the deficit. So I understand his frustration. I'd have said it differently.
So you're not on the side of Karl Rove, who called it unpresidential, and Rick Santorum, who compared him to John Conyers and some of the things the Democratic congressman from Michigan had said about George W. Bush.
Well, I'm just saying incendiary remarks against the Fed chairman don't add to the national debate. I think what the governor wanted to say and should have said is really a debate about the policy, and that's what he got into after that. Was $14 trillion national debt heading towards $22 trillion, which gets us to 100% of the GDP, is killing our country. And we've got to have a credible spending reduction plan and a jobs plan. And the administration has failed to produce either one. And so that's why we're in this mess. And that's what he meant to say. And look, Rick has been a great governor, best record in the country on job creation. And he's going to contrast what he's done in Texas with what they're not doing in the White House.
Governor, you like to tout Virginia's ratings on being one of the better places to do business, and where the unemployment rate is
not one of the better places,
below the
best.
National average. The best. My apologies. That's right. The new ranking just came out. But let me ask you this: where would Virginia's unemployment rate be without the federal government? How important is the federal government and government spending, particularly on defense, to Virginia's economy?
Well, there's no question Virginia is one of the largest recipients in the country in per capita federal dollars. And obviously, I'm a strong supporter of cutting back federal spending, and it's going to have a probably disproportionate impact on our state long term, depending on where they decide to cut. I can only say that of the jobs that have been created in Virginia during the last couple of years that I've been governor, the overwhelming majority have been private sector jobs. We're down from 7.2 to 6% unemployment. You're correct. CNBC and Polina ranked us the best state in America to do business. And so while the federal government spending has certainly helped, particularly in health care and education, long term we're relying on private sector growth to boost our economy and not relying on the federal government because we're expecting them to cut, and they should cut.
I want to put your political hat on. When you ran for governor, you had the luxury of not having a primary opponent, and that meant you got to run a general election strategy the entire time. How concerned are you that the Republican presidential primaries are going to move the party having too many conversations with the Tea Party and the base of the party and not enough with swing voters?
Well, there's no question from my own experience in 2009 running for governor, it's all about getting those independent voters to come your way. That 30% in the middle determines who wins most elections, assuming the base is generally with their candidate. But I'm not worried about it. We had a stage full of great candidates the other night. Governor is a great addition. They're going to continue to sharpen one another through the course of this debate. But look, they all know that their message of fiscal responsibility and job creation and a coherent energy policy and getting America, back to work is out the base, of course, but this is a message that resonates with middle America, so I think it's the right message.
Governor, do you believe there's room for one or two more candidates? Still some chatter about Paul Ryan, Wisconsin congressman. Even some calls I know continue to go into the office of New Jersey Governor Christie. Do you think there's still time?
Sure. Of course there's time, but I don't expect anything more than that. I think the field's pretty well set. You got a great group of men and women. competing for the nomination. I've just said I hope it's, I think the most qualified candidate may very well be a current or former governor, people that have to balance budgets, makes decisions, can't kick the can down the road, get things done on time, specifically responsible for jobs. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me for somebody else to get in, but I don't think any of those 3 or 4 that have been kicked around are going to get in. So we got a talented field. All of them will be a better jobs and fiscal governor than president than what we have now.
Well, there's Huntsman, Romney, and Perry. Are you going to endorse between those 3? Those are the only governors.
Probably not. I'm at least at this point. I've got all my elections, Chuck, in Virginia coming up in November of this year, so I'm not going to do anything until November. Then I'm going to just kind of see what develops. But we're going to have a talented group, and the issues that are going to determine the election in 2012, jobs, spending, energy, taxes, regulation, I think favors the Republican candidate.
Governor Bob McDonnell, Republican from Virginia, new chairman, a little bit early to get that job of the RGA, a few months early. Good to have you on.
Hey, Chuck, thanks.